The 23rd Psalm is one that many of us learned as children. It is one of the best known Psalms and is one to which we so often turn in times like these. In this hour, when our hearts are heavy and we are grieving the loss of our dear Trula Tuck. We are gathered here this morning to celebrate the homegoing of this most honored, loved, and unique child of God. We have come to celebrate the life of Miss Trula. I want you to know that I am humbled and honored to be a part of this celebration. I remember the first time Chris introduced Sylvia and me to her, and the very warm and kind way she greeted us. We knew then that we were family, and she always made us feel so welcomed. We are here today because of love. Our love for Miss Trula and God's love for her and us. It's because we love people so deeply that their absence makes us hurt so much. Death is something that separates us, and when we are separated from someone we love, we feel as though a part of us has been cut off. And that's what we've been feeling since the early hours of Sunday morning. That well-written obituary really helps us to capture her life. We learn a bit about her childhood with her parents and her brother John. As it was with Trula's mother, Granny, the stories I've heard and in what I personally witnessed of Trula, I really admired her independence and her positive outlook on life. Granny called Trula her precocious child. That precocious child clearly was one who lived life to its fullest and did not accept the role that our society often tries to assign to us. She didn't find it necessary to fit into any molds that others designed for her. She had been a waitress, a mobile home salesman, a certified electrician, a real estate agent, an insurance agent, owned a restaurant, an antique shop, the Antique Wagon, bargain bedding mattress shop, and a country club, Bramble Bush. She would buy and flip houses, often employing ex-felons as her work crew because she believed in second chances. She and Bill built the house of their dreams in Walton, overlooking the Norfolk Southern Railroad track and the New River. We find ourselves here today with a painful task of saying goodbye to someone whose life touched our lives, but now has immigrated to the stars there to dwell in light eternal. We are here this morning to celebrate the homegoing of one who has been so close to us as wife, mother, grandmother, a dear loved one, and a dear friend. Miss Trula had a splendid life. Like her mother, Trula had an entrepreneurial spirit, an essence that worked so well with that of Bill, as they were such great business partners. I want to share just some of the great and inspiring stories I've heard over the last couple of days. Many of these stories have to do with the plans for what they had just observed, Christmas in August. Trula always looked forward to Christmas, and it was like a Macy's Day Parade in their living room. There were so many gifts, and she enjoyed watching her family smiling and being happy. Trula lived for this event. Her family had come to visit, and as hard as it was, to also say their goodbyes. Bill stayed in the room, and Chris sort of served as the gatekeeper, bringing family in one at a time so that Trula could visit with them. Logan came in, and Trula got to visit with Chelsea and also see Rowan. She thanked them for coming with a warm and loving smile. Dylan came in and laid down beside her, not saying much that could be heard across the room. But afterwards, he stated that he was so much more fortunate than the other grandkids because of that special summer he got to spend so much time with her. He was her driver. Oh, and yes, hitting every Goodwill store all across the New River Valley. Stephen and Sally had Trula in Florida for a month or so. Their daughters, Maricel, Claire, and Kaylee, were wonderful. Kaylee took time during her Christmas break this past December just to spend time with Trula. And when Trula fell, Kaylee was there to help lift her up. Maricel came up from Florida to provide daily care these last few weeks, giving comfort to Trula. Kaylee was with Trula and Bill when Trula passed, providing skilled care in Trula's last moments. Stephen told this story from when he was about 17. He was having one of those teenage birds and bees story talks with his mom. He said he asked her about how she felt about Bill and what it was like when she first met him. Trula likened it to what she had learned in Scripture and preaching from her grandfathers. She referred to the passage that says, "It was better to marry than to burn." They had kind of a whirlwind romance. She was crazy about him and wanted him from the first time she met him. He had hired her while in the mobile home business, and they fell in love. You could watch them, and you could tell how much she cared about him. After all that time together, she continued to light up every time he came into the room. Sherry said this, "My mother loved life. She told me as a teenager, pay attention and remember, in terms of what may seem devastating at the moment, it's just for a moment. A week from now, 6 months from now, most things that upset you today will not even be a memory. Choose to be happy. Choose it." She would also say, "Kill them with kindness." And about travel, my mom loved to travel. On one of our trips, we were in 7 different countries within 3 weeks. She would talk to everyone around us, and from what she learned, we'd be moving in a new direction to have a new adventure. And always the most amazing food. The best pizza was in Prague, lasagna in Romania. Croatia had sardines deep fried in a cup served like French fries. Wine anywhere in Europe and at the family restaurants by the family that made them. The funny thing is that no matter where we were, Mom would always want to try a bite of anything my husband Mike had on his plate. She loved family, so much family, all the different personalities, the fast pace, the kids, and the more the merrier. Everyone was always welcomed. Our home was in constant motion. Trula and Sherry had this special mother-daughter connection. They were so in tune with each other. Philip had come and was able to visit and had hopes that things might get better when he said his goodbye and left to return to Florida on Saturday. As she did with all of her children, Trula always believed in Philip. She loved that he lived in the moment, not letting them slip by without extracting as much fun and enjoyment that could be squeezed out of them. Philip's sons are Josh and Will, and they had come too. And so did Anna, Josh's fiancée. They showed Trula the ring. Trula was excited about the announcement that the two were engaged to be married next June. She told them that she would be there. She was so happy for them. And rest assured, her spirit will be right there to bless that wedding. Craig was the baby of the family, and he and his mother were so close. They both went to jewelry classes together when he started his business, and she was so proud of him. Her parents had run a shop, and she had also, and now her baby was following that tradition. Greta, Craig's wife, took Trula to doctor appointments and maintained her medicines from the pharmacy, putting the medications into daily dose boxes. She did this while homeschooling 4 kids. Trula loved Greta like a daughter. Greta had this to say: "Many people have terrible relationships with their in-laws, but that couldn't be more opposite to my relationship with Trula. I often told people I could not have chosen better if I was allowed to choose my mother-in-law separately from my husband." She made everyone she met feel loved and important. The world was a better place with her in it, and we will miss her dearly. Everybody, all the family, got some private time with Trula for her joyous Christmas in August family event that had been planned. Bill stayed in the room and watched as she would visit a bit, then fall asleep. She would awaken again to visit with the next family member of her adoring and loving family. And then there were a few stories from my little brother Chris, who told me some of them, like the way he talked about Valerie Ramey and how she had a way of being able to get Trula to do things that no one else could. She's been such a blessing to the family and is a part of the family. Over these many years, Chris has told me about how much he loves and appreciates Susan, who has been so amazing, lovingly fixing countless of meals for Bill and Trula, and it was so appreciated by them. I liked the story Chris told about one of Bill's cousins who did most of the electrical work when they were doing mobile home business. And although he was quite skilled and knew how to do the work, well, he wasn't that strong academically and couldn't accomplish and complete the documentation required in the new regulations that had emerged. Talk about turning a problem into an opportunity. Trula got the books and began studying the electrical coursework and then sat for the exam. And guess what? Yep, she passed it. And they were able to continue to be successful in the business, including the cousin. This is what Chris said about his dad. Mom had the stroke 6 years ago and has been getting up 2 to 3 times per night ever since. Dad never complained. He just got up with her. He has been doing everything anyone could ask for. And during her illness, the two of them became even closer. I laughed when Chris told me about their sometimes flirting in front of him while he was visiting, and how even though he was a grown man with children, they could go into some really deep birds and bees glances and stories, leaving him blushing and squirming in his chair. On this past Saturday, Bill offered to take Trula to the hospital. Her breathing was becoming more difficult, and he told her that perhaps they could help her with that and her discomfort. But she told him, thanks, but no. She chose not to go. And from Bill, he wants everyone to know that Trula was an extraordinary woman, and it would be a great world if we had more people like Trula. There was nothing phony about her, and she was always so genuine. She was our Trula. And hear this story. As a boy, Chris said one day a neighbor boy said some cruel things of a racial nature to him about his siblings. Chris went and got his BB gun and began shooting at the boy. Trula got wind and took Chris and sat him down to talk about it. She told him he should feel sorry for that boy because, unlike him, someone had taught him to hate. Lloyd Newell tells a story that I believe speaks to the way Trula lived and viewed life. It comes from a poem from the 1800s and tells of 6 blind men who wanted to find out what an elephant is like. So they went to visit one. Each man approached it from a different direction, each taking hold of a different part of the elephant and describing what he discovered. One felt a tusk and concluded that an elephant is like a spear. Another, feeling a thick, sturdy leg, decided an elephant is like a tree. Still another, grabbing the trunk, declared that an elephant is like a snake, and so on. And then the poem concludes that these men disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion, exceeding stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right, all were in the wrong. They were right about their descriptions of what they had experienced. They were being true to what they knew, but they were wrong because they failed to account for what they didn't know. How can an elephant possibly be like a spear, a tree, and a snake? It becomes clearer when we see the whole picture. It's not so clear when we refuse to consider anyone else's experience. Sometimes we are so quick to judge. We make casual assumptions about people based on limited information, the color of their skin, their background, the way they look or talk or dress. But in reality, we can all be blind. Our perceptions and our experiences are limited. It takes patience and humility to withhold judgment, gather more information, and hear other viewpoints. That was Trula. As Bill said, we need so much more of Trula's love and grace, especially as we experience so many of the confusing and divisive issues of our day. Many people seem so adamant that they are right and anyone who disagrees is wrong. But as the way Trula approached people and life, those who come closest to the truth are those who are willing to look for it everywhere, even in the perspectives of those who see things differently. Now let me tell you what Susan had to say. Everybody who knew Trula probably has a story or two because she was larger than life. She loved shopping, and she really loved shopping for Christmas presents. I remember my first Christmas with the family when I didn't know what to expect. She must have brought and wrapped 25 presents for each person. I had never seen so many presents in my life. And inevitably, every year, there would be a few presents left over with no name tags, and they would go on a stack by the fireplace. I think that stack of gifts sat there for about 20 years. I haven't looked recently, but it could still be there somewhere. She was generous to a fault. If you mentioned that you needed or wanted an item, she would buy you 3 or 4. She was probably Goodwill's favorite customer. One of the lessons we could probably all take away from Trula's life is that she never stopped learning. She never lost her sense of adventure. And I love this part that Susan said. And given the opportunity, she always ate dessert first. What perfect memories you all have of this, yes, extraordinary woman. I want to close with some words that were shared with me some 30 years ago following the passing of my own mother. I was doing administrative residency in Alexandria when I met the late Reverend Dr. Cecil Hobbs. He learned about my loss, and he shared this poem that he had written entitled Memory. Of all the possessions thou hast given to me, O Lord, memory is the most spectacular. Like the proverbial magic wand, one can be miraculously transported to the very spot to relive a joyous experience of early childhood. One is able to dig deep into the mind of life's experiences and recover the smallest detail. One can be instantly in the presence of a loved one just departed, bound together with eternal love. Beyond this, O Lord, memory gives me the capacity to have beautiful spring flowers when the winter winds are biting cold, to possess the smile of another person who might be thousands of miles away when life deals a sad blow, to be recharged by the ideals of a teacher when society would surround me with a sea of cynicism and dishonesty. Memory, what a choice possession thou hast given to me, Lord, a treasure which no one can ever take away, a treasure which all the money in the world can never buy. And so I say to this big, beautiful, and loving family, for the life of Mrs. Trula Crawford Cumbo Tuck, for the gift and joy she provided as she lived and moved and had her being among us, and for this time this morning to celebrate that fabulous life, we say, thanks be to God. Amen.